So, I say to him, listen, honeybee, I'm going to lead you around the rings of Saturn, across the moon and the stars, and run lengths around the earth with such pleasures you have never experienced before. I say to him, listen, honeybee, I'm going to set you up and knock you down, I'm going to lead you down the rainbow of ecstasy. I say to him, nothing. I gulp. My warm, metallic, tasting cup of water, and grab him by his sweaty hand, paying careful mind to the, as far as I was aware at that point in time, no room for comparison here, massive erection dwelling in this priest's pants New Year's Eve costume. And I lead him up the rickety stairs that belonged to neither him nor I, and we made the strangely calm journey to the summit, to the top of the house. A small spare room where there was a bed and a table, no curtains, no carpet, and the smell of Yorkshire terrier to keep me company in my Teignmouth terror. Well, I says terror, but I seem to have forgotten I could be nervous, it being my first time. I was strangely passive yet aggressive in my come-on attempts. I knew it, he knew it, we're gonna fuck and it wasn't me kind, gentle, nor grand. I look at him as if to say, well, honeybee, you're supposed to be this big man with all this experience. Take me around the rings of Saturn and down the rainbow of ecstasy. Well, big man, for this moment in time, my honey bee. But all I got was a brief introduction to what a clitoris was and can do of a, oh, how the fuck did you do that? But it was over without climbing to the top of the roller coaster ride I heard so much about. All I got was a brief introduction, an awkward parade of my virginal white skin, as I mimed as if I'm having a good time. So, you may be wondering how a nice girl like me ended up here, there, that space, that place, that point in time and strange situation. So, it's not that hard to shift backwards in time to find out how it all accumulated to form said events that culminated to form said place, space, situation. So, there I was, feeling all low, feeling all blue, feeling all numb and wanting some fun. So, there I was, picking out a costume with the accommodating host of that night's show. She says to me, listen, sweet bee, you got to make the most of your God-given features, you see. Highlight your big features. So, there I was, there she was, there we were, being engulfed by the awkwardness of the underwear section, picking out some armour for some imagined night's crescendoing main event. So, armour picked out, armour tried on, armour making the most of my big features. So, there I was, there she was, there we were, in the location we just left, and one at the top of the stairs, on with the bed and the table, no curtains, no carpet, only smell of Yorkshire terrier. We were diving, we were delving into her drawers, her chest of drawers, to find something apt, something I could adapt to fit my form. So, I look at myself as if to say, well, sweet pea, treacle tart, sunny delight, what's it gonna be? Let's flash forward into particular flash back to a scene where a girl, this girl, was surrounded by a swarm of unexpected male attention, flocking, gathering, peacocking around, trying to tempt me with rings of Saturn and rainbows of ecstasy. So, I look at myself as if to say, well, sweet pea, treacle tart, sunny delight, what's it gonna be? Accomplice picked out, a loose lay named friend that had been sniffing around that particular cherry tree for some time. The aim, the subject of our Eve meant was to change, evolve, reject my form, to find the rings of Saturn and rainbows of ecstasy. So, there I was, there we were, at the summit, at the top of the house, on the bed and a table, no curtains, no carpet, and a smell of Yorkshire terrier. The light so bright, no lampshade, but for some reason no option to do it in the dark. His eyes piercing with oddly nervous intentions, as if he was intruding on a moment, intruding on skin that wasn't his to taint, but he tainted, awkwardly and pathetically, gently he tainted. He tainted my tits, he tainted my clit, he tainted my ass with his giant hands. He fumbled me on top of him, this 6'4" being pole of a man. Up and down I went, not realising that forwards and backwards was the typical format for this kind of performance. He realised I was bored and, unlike him, bored stiff. I guess it turns out that lack of enthusiasm is a turn-off for guys. I might as well have been talking about the weather for all the arousal I was aiming to do with the sound of my voice. Carefreely, clinically, I gave my first-hand job, as if it's the most natural thing in the world at that point in time was a mildly erect plastic-coated cock in my hand. However, being the first dick I'd seen, I highly doubt I had much technical or theoretical practice. At this point, he noticed my rivers had run dry, and the eve of disappointment was soon climaxed to a very unfortunate end. He decided to put his giant hands inside of me in an attempt to get me going. It didn't. All it served to do was to finish the deed. The elusive cherry was no more. And just as I was about to panic about being blood on his hands, he explained with a sheen of faked care-redness what it was all about. And then, realising that this foolish little escapade was over, he decided to cuddle me, because that's what he thought I wanted. But I went down the rickety stairs that belonged to neither him nor I, down to the kitchen to make a cup of sweet relief. It serves I wanted a sudden snap back to reality where I am innocent but now tainted, and a world with no possibility of rings of satin and rainbows of ecstasy, just tea and polite English conversation. Up the stairs on return, it seemed much grubbier and smaller than before, and there he was, fat thing with awkwardness and a condom he didn't know where to place. So he attempted, like he attempted so many things that evening, to throw it out the window and miss the collection of lilies and garden gnomes. But like he did so much that evening, he failed and gave the garden gnome a rather interesting looking hat. In the morning, the light, bright, shining dawn, our cover was blown, the proverbial cat was out of the metaphorical bag, you see. It was shown that the deed was done, albeit after much gossiping, decidedly disappointedly so. So, I say to myself, well now, at least that's over. But like with most dull, droning stories, even ones with slight hints of romance, even if said romance was drowned in cheap vodka and cigarette smoke, it went on. The next moments, it went on. She says to us, listen, fair enough, you're popping a cherry, squeezing her out, wringing her up and leaving her to dry, but really, try and cover up the stench of guilt and repression. She noticed my virginal white skin was no more, and with no more said about it, we went on, her, me, him, and another, to a cafe, play nice happy things with the stench of guilt and repression and failed rings of satin and rainbows of ecstasy. We went on, his guilt-coated face contradicting my strangely calm, emotionless features, whether it be through denial or acceptance. Either way, that's the story, so that's the tale of failed rings of satin and attempted rainbows of ecstasy.